Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 724th edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. I'm your host, Daniel Feuerstein. I'll give you American perspective of our clubs, leagues, players, national team, and other fabulous moments. Get your daily reading from me and other writers over at Beyond the 90, at beyondthe90.substack.com, and of course, locally over of New York Soccer at Bad Dog Sports. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, come on in. The chat room is open on YouTube. Come on in, discuss amongst yourselves if you like. You have a question for me, I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. Please don't forget to subscribe right here for your daily American soccer content. Well, let me just go ahead and say this, everyone, as we are getting closer to the World Cup and everything, and all the leagues in Europe are about to wind down. There's relegation going on. There's promotion going on. Everything is going on in world football, world soccer. But one thing that does come true, and it's really great to see it happen, and that is this American head coach over in I should say La Liga in Spain, as everyone is talking about right now, Pellegrino Matarazzo, the gentleman from the state of New Jersey who is managing Real Sociedad, and he pulls off an amazing run for the club. And it's not just a run that I don't think anyone ever expected in Spain. I don't think any of us expected it here as well. But he gives that club a big win in the Copa del Rey championship final, and they hoist the title. It's unbelievable what he has done. It's amazing what everyone is doing surrounding that man. You see, when we have a gift like this in American soccer, and I do want to put, I was trying to get a picture of him up, but unfortunately I can't get it up at this point in time, but everyone knows when we talk about someone like him to go to Europe and raise the flag for the game in this country, not just as a player, but a head coach. And the miracles that he has performed at Real Sociedad has been nothing short of incredible. And these are the great things I want to talk about. These are the amazing things that I want to share with all of you, because even though, he may not think of himself as the great American hope, and that's fine. I'm not going against him at all. But to talk about what he's done is a miracle within itself. This man who just, on a whim went over there and pulls this off. And it's amazing. And to see, hopefully, in La Liga, it was a two-team race between Barcelona and Real Madrid. And then Simeone goes to Atletico Madrid and makes it a three-team race. And now with Matarazzo running Real Sociedad, could he actually make it a four-team race? Could he actually make La Liga better and more interesting? Because now he's helped pull off an incredible victory in knockout cup competition in Spain. I am just amazed at what he's been capable of doing, and amazed that the players listen to him and they're going and doing a job, and they finally lifted some silverware. I have no words to describe how awesome this is and how wonderful it feels to see him pull this off and possibly if he keeps it going, and if they're climbing the table of La Liga, could he put Real Sociedad in a Champions League position? Is that possibility on the table? And if he does do it for next season, does he force these other clubs in Europe to, face what they're going to, maybe possibly a brand new threat in European football, whether it be the Champions League, whether it be the Europa League or the Conference League? I mean, it feels like they may make European club football next season, but obviously certain results must go their way. Now, I'm not going to anoint him as the next candidate for the U.S. men's national team job. I think it's way too early. I don't think, look, I don't know what's in his head. I'm not sure about what's in his head. I can't tell you what he's thinking. One moment. Excuse me. Oh. Sorry about that. I can't tell you what he's thinking in his head. But to see him succeed in Spain is already a big notch in the book, the big notch in our belts. Bob Bradley tried to do it. Unfortunately, was cut short. Jesse Marsh tried to do it. It was cut short. There was another American manager in England who tried. I don't know if he's still there or not. I'm assuming his time was cut short too. But maybe this is the guy that is the flag bearer and the flag carrier for coaches in Europe. Maybe he's the one. I hope that's the case. And I'm not saying he's got to be, the leader to march across the continent of Europe to say, we can do this here too. I want him to not be a flash in the pan. I want him to show success. It's tough enough to be in England. It's tough enough to be in Germany. It's tough enough to be in Italy. It's to me, it's extremely difficult to do it in Spain. Just like in Germany, the technical ability that we see from the Bundesliga in Germany and La Liga in Spain is probably 10 to 20 times better than probably what we've seen in England. Because in England, it's mostly pace with technical ability. But what we see in both in Germany and in Spain, it's probably 10, 15 times better than what we're seeing in England. And I'm not throwing England away. I'm not, poo-pooing England or the Premier League. It's tough enough as it is to be on a Premier League team. But if you can do it and you can be successful with it, it's great. But, the minute things go sour, it's all over and they want you out with pitchforks. Matarazzo, to me, has been the new shining beacon for American soccer. And it's great to see. But I want him to do it his own way. I want him to go at his own pace. We need to see more from him, not just what happens at the end of this La Liga season, but what happens next La Liga season and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that. If he can continue to be successful with Real Sociedad, then maybe he may manage a club somewhere else. He may go to another club in Spain. He may actually go to Barcelona. He may go to Real Madrid. He may even go to Italy, to Serie A. Maybe he goes to the Bundesliga. Maybe he goes to the Premier League. Because now you want him to have a track record of positive results, hard fought, tactics, leading men to go out there and do the job that you know he can do it. And then maybe down the line, sometime down the line, I'm not going to say it's right away, but maybe somewhere and sometime down the line, he could be head coach of the U.S. men's national team. I'm not saying it has to be right away. I'm not saying it has to be after this upcoming cycle or after the next cycle. But we need to see him do the job further in Europe. We have to give him that opportunity. Just like all of you are salivating the new young American talent coming through MLS in the hope that they do go to Europe and become great, I want to give the same amount of time to Pellegrino Matarazzo so that he can marinate and he can cook. That's what I want to see. That is what I want to see from him. And that's what all of you should want too. It gives me great pleasure. It really does. It gives me great pleasure to watch him go out there and absolutely do a job. And I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. I'm excited about him. Maybe he is the one. Maybe he's the guy that will carry our flag. It's not saying I was down on Bob Bradley. I'm not saying I was down on Jesse Marsh. But maybe, hopefully, he's the one that'll have the longevity. I think I screwed up that word anyway. Hey, you know me. I want him to have the longevity to be in Europe and to do the job over there. But until then, all the pie in the sky thoughts, all the hopes and dreams, all of the ideas that are coming to our heads that maybe, just maybe, he is the guy to actually do it. Let him do his job and just let him work. Let him dictate the tactics. Let him change things up. Just let him do what he wants to do, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Because we have a great one right now in the making. My hope, of course. Yours as well. But I truly want to see him take the time to do his job and not put any undue pressure on him. La Liga is pressure enough. Facing Barcelona, Real Madrid, Villarreal, Atletico Madrid, and all the clubs in La Liga, and then the second division, the third division of Spain is hard enough as it is. We cannot allow him to lose focus. And I know he's not paying attention to what we're saying, obviously. He's already ahead of us by a lot, time zone wise. But still, though, I don't want anyone to give him any ideas to fluff up his ego. Because I know he's not going to do that. But we need every one of you to keep it, nice and calm, nice and civil. Let him do what he's doing, and everything will come together the right way. Until then, we're just going to have to wait and see what the situation will be. And I can't wait to see what he can do. Beyond this season, it has to be better for next season, and then the season after that, and then the season after that. Period. I'm happy. I'm excited. I know it doesn't look it, but trust me, I'm excited. I'm happy about this. Look, there have been many negativities against U.S. soccer. There has always been negatives towards American soccer, American football, the game in this country. No one wants to believe us. No one wants to believe that we can play this game or we can manage this game. But when you give a guy like that, like Matarazzo, a chance to show you what he can do, then, my friends, we're off to the promised land. That's how exciting this is. That's how amazing this is. And I am absolutely thrilled to see Pellegrino Matarazzo get this opportunity. And he's basically taken the bull by the horns and he's riding it off into the sunset. It is amazing to watch. I'm very happy. I'm so happy, so thrilled. And hopefully more will come from him the next several matches and hopefully the next several seasons in La Liga. But if not in La Liga, then hopefully a club somewhere in some of the top leagues in Europe, and that he can definitely, do a job and kick some butt. That's what we all want to see. I want him to kick some butt, period. One moment, please. All right. So let me go ahead and take care of some business. Of course, let me tell you about this segment's sponsor, Dino Lezzi Energy Drink. When I need that extra kick to power through match analysis and late night transfer rumors, there's only one drink that delivers real, authentic Italian energy. That's Dino Lezzi. Crafted in Italy with the same passion I bring to the show, because real energy comes from real ingredients, just like real soccer talk comes from real insiders. I will have on Michael McColl after my opening segment, of course, as we talk about the Vancouver Whitecaps. But right now, I'm going to talk about what's going on with the Vancouver Whitecaps. For some of you, actually, not that. That's the next segment. But I want to talk about Matt Crocker. Matt Crocker leaving his post as sporting director of U.S. Soccer and going now to be with the Saudi Arabian Football Association. Matt Crocker, first things first, thank you very much for your time. You did your best. You brought over Emma Hayes to be the next women's national team head coach, and she's done a bang-up job. You brought over Mauricio Pochettino. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Mauricio Pochettino is a big name, obviously, and now he's going to have to prove himself for this upcoming World Cup this summer. Of course, we'll see the roster he'll select next month, and then, of course, the friendlies coming up very soon. I don't blame Matt Crocker for going to Saudi Arabia. Maybe the timing's a little off for me, but look, I'm not here to tell him what he should or shouldn't do. He's going to move on to Saudi Arabia, but, what more could he have done at U.S. Soccer? Honestly, I don't know. Once again, I would like to think that U.S. Soccer probably got to him, whether it was Cindy Parlow-Cone, whether it was JT Batson, whether it was the board of directors interfering with his business. And I truly believe he was interfered with for the rehiring of Greg Berhalter, meaning I think he was ready to sign Jesse Marsch to take over the men's national team position. And then he, probably at the 11th hour, was told, we're overruling your hiring for Jesse and we're going to bring back Berhalter. I think that's what happened. I really think that's what happened, and I really believe that that's my if that's speculation on my part, that's fine. But U.S. Soccer once again continues to show that they just can't get out of their own way, and they continue to deny opportunities to improve the programs so that we can be better, we can advance better, we can improve our players. I saw on social media, especially on X, Tab Ramos, who was the under-20 head coach for the U.S. Men's national team, how he felt that our national teams should play on the road in CONCACAF on those horrible pitches so that they know what it's like, so that they're not shocked that, it's not, you get used to that type of a pitch, and then you can be better on a pristine pitch at home and you could be on a terrible pitch during World Cup qualifying. And any idea and any hopes to improve our program for the women's team, for the men's team, it's always met with resistance. When are we going to learn that we cannot be like England? When are we going to learn we cannot continue to have friendlies in fish bowls? We cannot continue to have friendlies in pristine pitches, pristine stadiums, because when we get to World Cup qualifying, we can't have shock and awe. There are going to be pitches that are grass, natural turf, that will be absolute disasters. And that's intentional. It's intentional in El Salvador. It's intentional in Guatemala. It's intentional in Honduras. And it's also intentional in Jamaica. You think the office in Kingston is absolutely pristine? No, it's not. It's horrible. They've never fixed that. They don't have the money to fix that pitch. They don't have anything to fix those stadiums. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Do you know how long it took for El Salvador to finally build a brand new stadium for their national team, even though they still have the Cuscatlan? Now they have 2 national team worthy stadiums. Even in Nicaragua too. The pitches are horrible. Yeah, you only play it once every 4 years. That's not the point, though. The point is that, in the old days, whoever you got in the semifinal round, you might have to face them again in the final round of qualifying. So that's not only 1 trip, that's 2 trips. You can't assume it's going to be the best thing you've ever had since sliced bread. And that's where I think U.S. Soccer is lacking. U.S. Soccer is lacking a killer instinct. They're lacking the idea. If we get used to those horrible pitches within our confederation, we can definitely dominate on the road. Why do you think Mexico never leaves the Azteca when it's a match? They will either come here to the United States or Canada for the annual friendlies or the World Cup qualification matches, or they'll just remain at the Estadio Azteca. They got to go to Jamaica? No, Jamaica's got to go to them. They got to go to Honduras? No, Honduras has to go to them. We got to go to El Salvador? No, El Salvador has to go to them. It's the same thing. And the only time they go on the road is when it's World Cup qualifying or the World Cup itself. There's already, a Mexican home crowd in California or anywhere you go outside of, maybe the Midwest. But still, though, these are the advantages that, Mexico and the US has that, it's a detriment. And it should not be a detriment. It should not be that big of an issue. Should not. But all I can say is this. We are stuck because England does the same thing. They rarely play a friendly outside of the confines of Wembley Stadium. And now, because of the UEFA Nations League, we're never going to play England unless it's in a World Cup, or it's going to be a friendly around, I would say, now or the last window. All I want, and I know it's not going to happen, all I want is for our national team to have the best of both worlds. Face top talented nations, face our neighbors in our region for a friendly before we get to their stadiums for World Cup qualifying. That's all I ask. That's all I want. And the more we have that, the more of an advantage it is for our players. Sharpens their play, it sharpens their mind, it sharpens anything and everything. And until we get there, and until it's finally there, we're never going to be there. And this is where I feel US soccer is lacking. Oh, we're fine where we are. Are we really? No, we're not. We're not. We cannot have our federation lag because what's going to happen now is, and at this point in time, Canada is probably right now in a better position. And yeah, I'm going to go with Jesse Marsch on that because Jesse has them going, has them rolling, has them playing at their best on the national team level. And when he is able to put them in a better position than the USA and then Mexico, well, the advantage has shifted. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to poo-poo on our own guys or on our own national team and on our own federation. But the reality is this. Hubris can only take you so far. Arrogance can only take you so far. When you cannot do the job right, this is what happens. And this is why Jesse Marsch is giving Canada an advantage. Will he remain in Canada after this World Cup cycle? I don't know. Will there be a club opportunity for Jesse in Europe or in MLS again? I don't know. But what I do know is this. I know that Jesse's making Canada 10 million times better than what they were under John Herdman and even before John Herdman got to the Canadian men's national team. I think Canada, unless someone else is ready to take over for Canada soccer for the men's side, I think Jesse's going to remain there for another cycle. I think he's going to keep on going and probably keep on building. He may remain in Canada for the rest of his time. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I can't promise anything. I wish I had the future. Okay. And, it's just one of those things where, and it's just, So all I can say is that it is one of those things where we really got to make sure we get the right guy for the U.S. and we'll see what Canada does with Jesse. But other than that, all I can say is that it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, their hubris ruins everything, and we can't have that happen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and move on to my guest tonight. Of course, he is from away from the numbers over in Vancouver, British Columbia, a good friend of mine covering the Vancouver Whitecaps. It's Michael McColl joining me. Michael, good evening. Hope you're doing well. You're a little dark over there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
my lighting's not the best at the moment for some reason. I think it's because it's so sunny outside.
Yes,
That's the main reason.
I think so too. Well, bring in that warm Vancouver sunlight. Why not? Let's have some fun with it. Um, Obviously, Michael, we all know the plight of the Whitecaps at this point in time. Obviously, currently stuck at BC Place, trying to have conversations with the government, the town government, the provincial government, obviously in British Columbia, to get them a stadium. But then I've learning recently, about maybe a day or two ago, that MLS has now stepped in and threatened with relocation threats to move the Whitecaps out of Vancouver. Uh, I don't know where the process is right now or the progress of these talks with the Vancouver city government or the provincial government of British Columbia. Please inform us of what's going on with the stadium situation for the Whitecaps right now, and those talks. And then has this little, I'll call it interference, has that hurt or helped the Whitecaps situation?
Well, I think first of all we should say that MLS haven't actually officially threatened relocation.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in the background, and folk are just kind of joining the dots for various things. What we can say is in December, the Whitecaps and the City of Vancouver signed a memorandum of understanding for looking to build a new stadium on what is an old racecourse area of the city, so that they've got a year to get those plans done, get them developed, go back to the city with it. The problem is Don Garber several times now has said that their current situation at BC Place is untenable. And it's not so much that he's threatened that they are going to relocate them, but reading between the lines again and joining the dots, he said things like untenable and time is ticking. The Whitecaps have said there isn't a deadline, that they have to get everything sorted, but they only have a 1 year agreement at BC Place. So technically, right now, from 2027, they don't have anywhere to play. And the hope is they will sign a new agreement. Some people have thought the whole way along that the plan is just to try and get more leverage for BC Place, and that will be their ultimate home. I don't know that that is necessarily the case just now. Axel Schuster, the Whitecap CEO and sporting director, has said that Plan Z, or Z, as I guess, if we want to use Americanisms for you, is the relocation. And right now, they will explore every other plan up to Plan Z. Unfortunately for the Whitecaps, all the murmurs, and again, nothing official, because part of the concern at the moment is Axel Schuster's kind of gone radio silent. He isn't doing a lot of media, and when things are quiet, that's when people start to get worried. But the murmurs, the rumors just now are that the only actual offer on the table is from a Vegas group to relocate to Las Vegas. And then when you hear about the stadium plan in Las Vegas for a soccer specific stadium, again, people join the dots, people start to get a little bit more worried. And although nothing is official, the general feeling here is time is ticking very quickly, that the Whitecaps need to find a new ownership group that wants to keep the team in Vancouver.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think losing the Whitecaps for no reason at all is definitely something I don't want to see that. I want to see Vancouver keep the Whitecaps, obviously. It's their club. This club has been there for how long? It's been there for, the original NASL days. I know they brought them back originally, the 86ers. Then they renamed themselves back to Whitecaps. Obviously, it's tough, everything that's going on. I think to me, it sounds like Alex is trying to. I know he can't control the rumor mill and the second guessing, but to me, it sounds like he's trying to keep everything close to the vest,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to give respect to the Vancouver city government so that they can get an agreement to get the land, build that new stadium. Because the reality is this: while it's great that they're at BC Place, you can agree with me. You know that I agree with you. BC Place is no longer, and I do agree with Don Garber. It's not attainable anymore for them anymore. They need to get their own stadium. They need to get their own home. And what's going on over there has been tremendous, especially with Robert Mueller there, part of the Whitecaps, and giving them a big name in world football.
Yeah, and the ironic thing in all of this is the Whitecaps have never been better on the pitch. And last year was their best ever season. They've started this year on fire, top of all of MLS at the moment. The problem is they don't control the dates at the stadium. So if they had got, for example, to the Champions Cup semi-final, it couldn't be played at BC Place because FIFA have taken it over.
Mm-hmm.
And the nearest, they couldn't play it in British Columbia. They couldn't play it in Alberta, which is the nearest province, because there wasn't stadium available that met CONCACAF rules. The quarterfinals of the Canadian Championship will be in July, and they can't play their home game in that because FIFA will still have the stadium. Then there's concerts on in August. That means one of their League's Cup games has to be played in Mexico. So there's all this aspect to it. Now, what the BC government has done, and for people listening to this that aren't aware, the BC government own BC Place Stadium through a government corporation called PAVCO. And so many people here have learned so much now about government corporations that we didn't have any interest in before, but now we're having to find out more about it. So they operate the stadium as a business, but the stadium and the land is owned by the BC government. So what they've said for this year is they will waive all the money that they would make from it, from ticket sales, from concessions, from parking, and the Whitecaps get that money. That is only an extra $2.5 million. And Axel Schuster has talked about they're short by about 40 million for where they need to be. But even with more money coming in, even if they get a new stadium, the ultimate situation here is the team will only stay in Vancouver if somebody buys it from Greg Kerfoot that wants to keep it in Vancouver. And right now, and Axel has said in the current state, and he has come out and said this, I think in February, there's nobody interested in buying the club just now to keep it in Vancouver with the current stadium situation. Now, if they get this new stadium approved, you're still talking 3-4 years before it's built.
Yeah, of course.
There might be people then that want to buy the club to keep it in Vancouver. But you're looking at a weakened Canadian dollar. You're looking at an exorbitant expansion fee, if we're being honest. And you've got groups like Vegas, Sacramento, Indianapolis, Detroit that want to get in MLS, and they're going to see this as the cheap way to get into MLS because it's going to be maybe a quarter or 250 million cheaper than it would be to buy expansion fees, maybe even $500,000 or $500 million rather. But the positive thing in that is that also works in the Whitecaps' favor in that the league, all the owners would have to approve relocation. and they would much rather have expansion fees than get nothing from, say, Vegas coming
Mhm.
in. So that does work in their favor. Any relocation has to get ratified by the Board of Governors meeting. The most recent one has just been held in April. And I'm sure if that had been approved at that, it would have leaked out by now. I mean, we know there's certain outlets that get all these leaks from MLS. So that would have come out, and it hasn't. The next one is at the All-Star game in July. And
Yeah.
that is why we feel that the clock is ticking. That's why the supporters groups here have launched a Save the Caps campaign, which you can go to savethecaps.com for all the details about that. And the reason they're doing this now is they've looked heavily at what happened in Columbus.
Yes.
And the gentleman behind the Save the Crew campaign, it was through all his hard work that they were able to find a buyer to keep it in Columbus. And the hope is now that through this campaign, pressure on government, pressure on local businesses, pressure on billionaires in the city, multi-millionaires in the city, that they can find a person, a consortium that will be saying, okay, we see the passion in the city. It's a World Cup city. It's a great team on the pitch. Yeah, we'll come in. We'll make a pledge. We will do this, and we will buy the team and keep it in the city.
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, look, have you heard maybe any rumblings like throughout Canada soccer? I mean, if there's no one from Vancouver or from British Columbia, would there be a potential buyer from Alberta province and, keep the Whitecaps in Vancouver, or from Ontario or Saskatchewan or Manitoba, maybe even Quebec province? Do you think there might be someone that might purchase the club and keep them in Vancouver?
I mean, at the moment, there's nobody from anywhere, whether within BC, within Canada, or within America, North America, that is wanting to do that. Now, I'm quite against multi-club ownership,
Hmm.
Red Bull, Man City, all that stuff. I'm against like Saudi ownership. But right now, the situation is at a stage I would accept any of those options if it keeps the
Hmm.
team in Vancouver. And that's how
Hmm.
kind of dire we're kind of looking at things. Now, it's painting doom and gloom because that is kind of how folk are feeling just now. But as I say, there's positive signs. The Whitecaps are signing players to extensions. You wouldn't imagine that some of those players would want to commit when they don't know where they're going to be playing,
Hmm.
unless they've got clauses in their contract that would let them out of those contracts if the team moves. That is one thing we do not know yet.
Hmm.
The, we haven't seen an exodus of staff from the front office. That's always a positive sign. So there's no mumblings there. The the Whitecaps are working with the government and the FIFA 26 Vancouver committee on legacy projects in the city. So again, that is all positive. And as I mentioned, the Board of Governors would have to approve that. And I'm not sure that other cities would necessarily totally approve it right now. I don't know how much say or how much veto people have, but what everyone listening to this needs to remember, it nearly happened to Columbus. It did happen to San Jose. If it happens to Vancouver, it can happen to many cities in MLS. And I
Hmm.
think there'd be a few ownership groups, some rubbing their hands because they can make some big money, but there might be some fan bases. You look at Montreal as an example that's in just a mess just now. It's like, are they next in the pecking order to get moved?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you don't want. Like you said, you haven't heard anything from anyone, but would you? I'm going to throw this out there. I mean, we know the Maple Leafs are owners of Toronto FC. That we all know. Could the Vancouver Canucks take a shine to the Whitecaps and say, you know what? We're going to watch you from afar, but we are interested of taking over the club.
I mean, it is a possibility, but the Aquilinis that own the Canucks did try and get the MLS team in 2011 and they didn't get it. And after that, they've had no interest in the club at all. If they were really interested in soccer, they could have had a Canadian Premier League team. But they've got enough problems, I think, at the Canucks right now. They're in a terrible state
Hmm.
that I think that's far removed from their mind. I think the
Yeah.
best bet is going to be like a consortium, multi-ownership. Greg Kerfoot and Jeff Mallett have both said that they would be prepared to keep some of their share and not sell everything. So that could be a possibility. But again, ultimately, it all comes down to finding that person. And it's not that they haven't been trying, they've reached out. There's a lot of billionaires in this city. There's not as many as other cities, but there are billionaires here. There's many multi millionaires in this city.
Yeah.
And it's whether they feel it's an investment. What you've got to bear in mind in all of this, because so many people say, oh, look at Ryan Reynolds. He's from Vancouver. He got Wrexham at a dirt cheap price.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing. People like him, people like Tom Brady, they can buy clubs in the UK for next to nothing in the grand scheme of things. And then, like, I don't know what fold of their investment it is, but it's multi-fold that they have times their investment. And they've got promotion, they've got relegation, they can work up through the leagues, they can make their
Mhm.
money. So buying into MLS isn't that attractive for a lot of these people.
No, it's not. No. And, he's also a part owner of the Ottawa Senators too. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know if, I mean, look, I think going on the whim with Rob McElhaney with Wrexham was a stroke of luck, you know, to see him or to see, and let's also not forget, they're helping out Eva Longoria down in Mexico
Yes.
with Necaxa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they're, could you imagine now live on CTV? Welcome to Vancouver.
Like we're laughing about this. I've thought the Whitecaps missed an opportunity to do that when Thomas Muller came
Yeah.
because it would be lapped up by people in Germany. Like since he's arrived, the interest in
Huh.
the club from Germany is massive. Our podcast numbers are through the roof. Other outlets here are seeing an increase in traffic and listeners and stuff as well. And a lot of them's coming from Germany or Bayern fans elsewhere in the world as well that want to keep an interest in him. And I mean, that could be something. If they sell that, could get some of the revenue shortfall made that the
Hmm.
club are looking for. But
Yeah.
again, they're all small steps, and together they make bigger steps. But ultimately, you need somebody that not just wants to buy the club, but also wants to fund a new stadium. Although the other option, which Don Garber threw out in November when he was here, is that the BC government keep ownership of the stadium, keep ownership of the land, but transfer the running of BC Place to the Whitecaps. And that could be an option, and it would
Okay.
secure the short term future. But again,
Hmm.
ultimately, the club is still up for sale. So everything comes down to getting a buyer, basically.
You spoke about, of course, the amount of tremendous podcast numbers you've gotten from because, in Germany, because Thomas Mueller is here. Do you think Thomas Mueller is contacting millionaires, billionaires, football club owners in Germany, say, would you be interested in running the Whitecaps? Because I'm here.
Well, I spoke about multi-club ownership. Now, Bayern Munich have got an
Yeah.
official partnership with LAFC, but I'm sure
Hmm.
that's something that they could easily get out of if they wanted to explore multi-club ownership. Thomas Mueller was actually asked at training last week by our mutual friend, our good friend Harjeet Chahal, if he was interested in buying into the Whitecaps. And he didn't say no. He just said, if there was discussions like that, I wouldn't tell you publicly. But I
Exactly.
would imagine, I would imagine that that is something that they have explored. I mean, we know that Messi's going to own Miami or part of Miami when he finishes there. And
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if part of Thomas Mueller's contract is you get an ownership stake in the Whitecaps, and then he's got contacts. And I would not be surprised with Axel Schuster being German, with him there, that there is some German interest. but they wouldn't probably be able to do it on their own, again,
Mm-hmm.
because of MLS valuations. But
Mm-hmm.
that could be part of a consortium for sure.
Yeah.
And that would be one of the more pleasing multi-club ownerships, I think, for people. Because we know Citigroup aren't, because they're already in MLS. We know
Yep.
Red Bull aren't, because they're already
Yep.
in MLS. So
Mm-hmm.
you're already narrowing down the options there. So, yeah, I mean, it certainly could be something.
Yep. Exactly. Now, don't make Thomas jealous when I show you this, because I was able to secure something very interesting from let's just say I had a nice email last year for getting some Bayern Munich merch, and here it is.
Ah, nice. Well, my podcast co-host Zach is a Bayern fan, so he's going to love that.
It's from Igloo.
Oh, very nice.
Yes. See, there you
Very
go,
big.
ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Very big. I got this. I got the bullet one. I also have a cooler bag. They got like 5 things. They got that one, the Stein, the bullet. They got 2 cooler bags. I got one that's got like a little carry. You can grab it like this with a big Bayern Munich logo on the front. And there's a bigger, cooler one with you can carry it over your shoulder. And I forget what the 5th one is, but go to Igloo's website, IGLOO, and just type in the search bar Bayern Munich, and then you'll see the whole thing. Yeah, I admit I got it for free, but still, though, it's really awesome. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What I'll do is this: I'll DM you the photo of the 3 things I got, which is one of them that I just showed you. So you can
Yeah.
show it to Thomas. You can say to him, he'll probably go, "Where did you find these?" And you can tell him a colleague of yours showed you where.
Well, if folk want to hear more from Thomas, our latest podcast, we've got his media availability from last week where he's talking about the Whitecaps season and getting more fans in and possibly buying into the club. So folk can listen to that as well if they want a little bit more Thomas Mueller.
Yeah, exactly. Has he faced Timo Werner yet in San Jose or no?
Yes, 1-0 defeat, controversial 1-0 defeat. Whitecaps should have had a penalty in the second half that was not given. And they face off again on May 9th down in San Jose. So that should be a tasty one. It could be the top 2 still at that point.
Yep, it really should. We're gonna see a Mueller on Werner crime, I bet you right now. It's
the game at BC Place a couple of weeks ago, they both started on the bench. They both came on quite late in the game as well.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Come on, we can't have that.
I'm pretty sure they'll both start down San Jose on the 9th.
They probably will. Hopefully that'll be the was that Saturday or Sunday, that the May 9th?
It's a Saturday. I might even head down for it. I'm still looking at possibly going down for that.
Okay. Good. Well, you know what I'm hoping for? I'm hoping for, maybe it's the Saturday night soccer special on Apple. We'll see what happens, but that should be the Saturday night special for Apple TV.
Oh, definitely
finally,
weekend.
Yeah. Finally, have you tracked down those illegal curlers over there since you're not far away?
No, I mean, I tend to just watch curling when it's at the Olympics, I've got to say.
Oh, okay.
Or if Scotland's got into the World Finals, I kind of watch that. So I don't pay any interest. It's constantly on TSN here.
Yes.
And it draws massive numbers. It's like insane. When people are like, why is there not more soccer? Why are you showing curling? It's because it gets crazy numbers here.
Oh, yeah, I bet it does. Yeah, they love that stuff. I mean, I like watching it. Like I told you, the Olympics was the first time I ever covered it. And it was like, I couldn't believe the turnout I got. It was amazing.
Yeah, popular sport.
Yeah, very popular. No, I'm glad it's popular. I'm happy. I like
watching it. Yeah. I've
me
never
too.
played it. At some point, I would like to have a go. I'm not the most, my balance is not great. So trying to stay on the ice, I can't skate for one thing. So,
well, thank goodness
on the ice.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness you don't need skates on that layer of ice. That's for sure. I think I've seen it it's a town in Westchester County, New York called Ardsley, and they have a curling club there. I've seen the photos. It's not far from where my best friend's parents live in Dobbs Ferry. And I've seen with, first timers, if you're learning how to throw, they have some sort of a brace or a
Yes.
crutch.
It, it,
I've
it's
seen that.
it's kind of it's not quite like 10-pin bowling with the things down the side, but yeah,
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
helps so you don't
Yeah.
fall over.
Yeah. So I think yeah, exactly. You don't fall over and, how you call it? I guess you can, I'm assuming it'll fix your balance. I'm assuming, I don't
Yeah.
know, but you know, it's just amazing what goes on. And, you know, one day I'll get back up there and head to Ardsley and I'll say, hi, I wrote the articles from the Olympics. Oh, you're the hero. No, I'm just joking, right? I don't know. But, great stuff. But Michael, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me. And, it's getting closer, my friend. We're going to announce those national teams for the World Cup rosters. What do you
Mm.
think Scotland will be, and what do you think Canada is going to be?
Scotland's is pretty set, really,
Mhm.
because Steve Clark's quite set in his ways, and I wouldn't really see any surprises in there. Canada is riddled with injuries at the
Yeah.
moment, and it's whether Jesse Marsh takes a gamble on bringing some players that may or may not be able to play in the group games or not.
Mhm.
It's a 26-man roster, so you've got a couple of spots that you can take those with. Alistair
Yep.
Johnson is meant to be back for Celtic before the end of the season,
Okay.
but we've got Moise Bombito and Derek Cornelius, the starting centre back pairing, that are injured just now, not playing for their clubs. Cornelius is good to go, but he's not getting into the Rangers team. And then the backup to them was likely to be Ralph Priso at the Whitecaps, and then he gets himself injured playing for Canada.
Yeah, I
But
saw
he
that.
he might be back mid-May, so fingers crossed for Ralph that he can get in the team.
Exactly. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. Michael, thanks again for joining me. Have a good night. Tell all my friends over in Vancouver I said hi, and talk to you soon again. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Michael McCall from Away from the Numbers over in Vancouver, British Columbia, hosting and, of course, covering the Vancouver Whitecaps. And now we are going to the Red Bull review. And unfortunately for them, it was an absolute disaster, just an absolute disaster for them, as they just absolutely was an terrible, just terrible, absolutely terrible matchup. I'm just trying to get that for you right now. And here we go. Just another poor start, unfortunately, and they got punished. And Victor Laturi getting that opening goal in the 5th minute. Um, just, they were being pushed and pressured. Obviously, they had their coaching change, and the interim came in and did an amazing job changing things up. Um, and Red Bulls just couldn't recover. They tried to stay in it. Handball call against Dylan Nealis, even though VR looked like that the ball hit Nealis in the back and not on the arm. But VAR decided not to overturn, or at least give the referee the opportunity to go to the VAR monitor and say, hey, take a look at this. We think you got the call wrong. And no, they kept the penalty. And it was Prince Owusu who made it 2-0 in the 39th minute. And then Michael Bradley makes changes in the second half. Matty Longstaff, he gets his goal and make it 3-0 in the 49th minute. And all of a sudden, the Red Bulls are in trouble. Even though Longstaff puts the ball in the back of his own net by mistake, and it was one of the weirdest own goals you'll ever see, I thought that was going to give the Red Bulls a jolt, a boost. And it didn't happen. And they tried to score another goal. They just missed a damn good one. Unfortunately, Sofo missed. Should have had one. But unfortunately, the Red Bulls, they fall, and Quadwo Poku makes it 4-1 and the 77th minute, and that's all she wrote. Um, you know, these are the games where it is frustrating, even though it's still a young team. And, I think people need to understand, and the Red Bull fans need to understand. These are the games where you're going to have to expect this type of performance that, they may not have a great start. And everything is going to fall apart right away once the game gets underway. Once again, bad distribution by Ethan Horvath. This time it's Emil Forsberg who gets picked off, and Loturi scored. Another penalty call against the Red Bulls, and that gave Montreal their goal again. Second goal in this one. First goal was back at Red Bull Arena, Sports Illustrated Stadium. And then just a complete whiff of a performance. Thankfully, right away, midweek, tomorrow night, Red Bulls will be taking on DC United on Wednesday, April 22nd. And then they'll be traveling on the road to take on FC Cincinnati on the weekend on the 25th. And then they come back for Open Cup rivalry night, as it'll be the Hudson River Derby once again, taking on New York City FC. And then they'll be home back in league play against FC Dallas. So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait for that to come in. And, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But other than that, the Red Bulls, once again, you cannot have those types of starts. And if you have those types of starts, you're never going to come back and win it. Never. It's got to be much better. You got to be ready to go when the opening whistle blows. They just had a coaching change, and they took advantage of it. And they took advantage of you, and that's what happens. But hopefully they get back on the saddle. They went back to the drawing board, and, we'll see what happens in their next matchup at home against DC United. I want to thank my guest tonight, Michael McColl from Away from the Numbers, about the Vancouver Whitecaps situation. Hopefully it will be attained and attainable, and things get fixed up. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to talk about our wonderful game here in the United States, because I do believe in the American player. I do believe in our American coaches. I believe that we do and we can play this game. If I didn't have that belief, I wouldn't be doing this show. I'm here to share you my thoughts about what I believe the game needs to do here in our country. And hopefully, if it is this World Cup that our nation wins that little golden trophy, so be it. And I'll be the happiest man in the world and the happiest man in the United States of America. But until then, we'll find out. Later on this week, this Thursday, U.S. Open Cup Round 3 review show. And then on Friday, this coming Friday, CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinals, second leg review show. I have my guests. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more, and we will have a lot of fun doing it. But until then, my name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. Join me again, once again, this Thursday and this Friday for other shows, and join me next week as well. Once again, my name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. And as always, please, 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 please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care. So long. Have a good night. And bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.